We're here today, we're joined by James King, who is COO at Ideagen, and he's going to share some of his insights into resilience for us. James, thank you for joining us here today. So why do you think resilience is so high on the boardroom agenda at the moment?
Look, we've all survived COVID, and that really sort of put resilience at the top of the kind of boardroom agenda. But since then, it's been tough. The economic environment has been difficult over the last 2 or 3 years. We have a very fluid geopolitical situation, a lot of changes in governments, both here and abroad. And then the kind of, the big question of environment and climate change. There's no doubt about it that stuff is something that is impacting people, their lives, and the way that companies do business.
Now, we work with regulated industries or
Yep.
high compliance industries. Some people would argue that being a regulated business, that allows you a level of security. By their very nature, regulated industries are needed, are necessary. Yet when we did this report of 500 regulated industry CEOs, there was clearly a real concern about their resilience. How important is that to us as a business to understand what our customers are feeling and thinking?
Oh, it's super important. And, look, I think any business in the last 2 years, 3 years has gone through COVID, post-COVID, the bump that we got, the big bubble, and there was a lot going on, and now we're coming out the other side. So I think change is part of all of our customers' lives, and it's part of our job to help them to manage that change, to get certainty, and to really understand what's going on in their business day to day. So I think, change sits at the heart of the challenge for everybody.
One of the things that came out quite deeply within the report was a battle for talent. So
Yes.
not just finding skills in the first place, but actually attracting them and holding on to them. Is that something that impacts us as an organisation?
I think it impacts all organisations, and I think it's a bit of a after effect of COVID, where before COVID, most companies that we deal with would have a workforce that commuted into their offices every day, and now hybrid working is everywhere. So and that's a great challenge. It's also a great opportunity. But what it means is that you're now not competing with local talent where your office may be in New York or London, but the people who live in New York could work for the company in London and do it on a hybrid basis. And so the pool of talent gets bigger, but the challenge to attract really good talent becomes harder. One of the things that we're trying to do here at Ideagen is to try and tap into talent at the very beginning of their career. And I think so we have a very developed graduate entry scheme and inexperienced work entry scheme coming into our business here, where we're trying to develop our own talent because it's so difficult to find the finished product. Why not invest in developing your own, create that culture, get them to be real Ideageners in our way, understand our business inside out, understand our customers really well. So that's one answer to the problem that we're dealing with.
That's a solution to that, one of those resilience challenges, yeah. The other one that actually is intrinsically linked to the battle for talent is then managing a global workforce. And one of the findings from the report was around hybrid working, and actually the number of CEOs who felt it was a risk to their resilience. So there's something there, isn't there, about how you maintain productivity when you have a global workforce?
Yes. So I think we, like a lot of businesses, have gone through the process of having, everybody working remotely during COVID, and then bringing people back to the office. And I think what we've seen is there is a happy medium there, where as a business you want to give people that flexibility, but there is undeniable productivity benefits and culture benefits and just buzz around an office that comes from having your teams together on a regular basis as well. And so that's something certainly that we're trying to do. So we now have core days, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when everybody in our headquarters comes in together. We're not asking different teams to come in on different days. Everyone comes in together. But also around the world in our offices in Sydney and in the US as well, we're looking to try and get those teams together every week on the same days to get the best of both worlds. Because I think employees demand that flexibility, but also there is no doubt that there's something special happens when you bring people together in an office environment, and I think a lot of businesses like us are going back to that to create a bit more resilience in their day-to-day business.
Yeah. How do you manage that productivity though when you do have remote teams? I mean, you've got sales teams, for example, all over the world,
Yep.
Australia, America. How do you make sure that you get that same culture, buzz, productivity when everybody's working in separated teams?
Look, I think first of all, technology is super important, right? You know, I mean, none of us ever used Teams 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, did we? But now it's an integral part of how we operate. So we are meeting remotely all the time. You know, we will start the week with one-to-one meetings on Teams. But something that I'm very conscious of, and I know we're very conscious of here, is that interweaving that face-to-face with the remote work is really important. So it's not just about bringing people into the office, but it's about, you know, us going out and spending time in our different regions around the world, making sure people are connected, that they understand what's going on, and that you can be a champion of the culture of your business to those people, because otherwise they can feel quite disconnected and very remote from the centre. So it's about the best practice of using tech, traveling for real benefit, not just for the sake of it, which I think is probably what happened before COVID, and having that kind of culture where you bring people into the office on a regular basis.
Those were the days. Just trembling. But you mentioned technology,
Yeah.
and it feels a little bit like you can't move at the moment for talk of AI.
Yes.
I mean, it's just exploded.
Yeah.
And that also was something that came out as a real investment for businesses and CEOs that we spoke to, but also a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And now we use AI here, don't we, operationally?
Yes.
We've got it in our software.
Yes.
It's not a new thing.
No.
But it feels like it's going to be a real game changer,
Yes.
certainly in the next 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become a game changer in the last 6 months. I think you won't speak to a customer who's not interested in how to use AI in their business to both build productivity and efficiency, but also resilience. I think our view is there are many wonderful benefits to be got from AI, but in the end of the day, it's about augmenting your core business, not replacing it, if that makes sense. So what we want to do is to help our people to focus on the really interesting, difficult, creative challenges that they face and take away some of the grunt work by using AI. It's not about one replacing the other. It's about one allowing you to be much more focused on the really interesting, groundbreaking stuff by taking away some of the day-to-day stuff, which can be done really well today by AI.
And I suppose that helps a little bit with the battle for talent, because you're using the talent that you've got to add the value.
Yes, absolutely. It's a really good example would be creating content. I don't know, you're in the marketing team, so you spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. Certainly, I think AI can help you to sort of break the back of a content creation piece, but it doesn't create the real differentiation and the wow factor and the buzz. That's where the magic happens, in that creativity. And I think if you can bring the best of allow your people to really focus on what they do best and create that creative kind of edge and take away some of the sort of really mundane stuff, that's where AI really sort of brings a benefit. But for me, it's never going to replace human beings.
Good. However, you can't talk about AI and not talk about regulation. We've had the G7 summit meeting about it. We know that there's the EU AI Act coming into the EU, who are kind of leading the way really on the regulation of AI. It's a hot topic. Rishi Sunak's going to have a summit on it at some point this year. And that's also something that businesses are concerned about. How can they get ahead of that and prepare for what ultimately feels like is inevitable?
Look, I mean, if you think about privacy and GDPR and all of these sorts of things that have gone before, I think AI is going to be the next wave of regulation that companies need to think about and manage and be proactive around. Our job as a software business that provides platforms and tools to help companies to manage their regulatory requirements is to be ahead of the game and to be very conscious about what's coming down the line, and that's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So we'll be looking very carefully at how those regulations develop, and we will be looking to build that into the platforms and services that we're ready to deliver to our customers to help them to be ready when that regulation comes, and that's part of our job. So to all of our customers out there, don't worry, we're thinking about it, we're monitoring it very carefully, and we'll make sure that whatever is required from the regulatory bodies, that it will be on our software and services and ready when the time comes.
It's still there, right at the top of the boardroom agenda, has been for, it feels like decades now.
Yeah.
Sustainability,
Yes.
ESG.
Yes.
It's still a real hot topic for people.
Yeah.
And it came through in this report as something that they're concerned about. I think some of that's due to the complexity of the reporting landscape.
I think there is increasing regulatory requirement around reporting on ESG, but I also think there's a shift from businesses just ticking a box and doing what they have to actually really caring about this stuff. I think most businesses are now taking sustainability very seriously. They don't want to be accused of greenwashing, and the best companies, are really serious about running their business in a more sustainable way. So I think we've got that kind of perfect combination of public opinion demanding that our businesses run more sustainably and regulation supporting that. And as a byproduct of that, I think that's why you're beginning to see more and more focus from boardrooms on that stuff. And again, we're very conscious of that. So we do have some ESG tools, and we are going to be launching a number of different new offers in the next 18 to 24 months, which are really geared towards helping companies to measure what they're doing from a sustainability perspective, but also to report it in a format that is going to be acceptable to boards and regulatory environments. So helping them to do that better, and then to put plans in place to do stuff in a more sustainable way. As a tech business, we will start to have to report on the sustainability of things like cloud computing and computing power and development centers and things like that. They are part of our supply chain, and for the first time we are starting to be able to get insight, real data about how much we're spending and what is the impact on the environment, and what sort of carbon footprint do those things have. So, I think we think about supply chains as just moving physical goods from A to B, but actually it's going to be much broader than that. And again, having the tools and the capabilities to be able to capture that data and report it in a consistent way is part of what we see as our remit as we go forward into this brave new world of a much wider ESG reporting landscape.
It used to be about business, or it's always been about business continuity, but actually, if you think about COVID and then the war in Ukraine and lots of geopolitical changes that are happening, it's actually a lot about agility as well now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, as you say, business continuity was always a sort of critical part of any kind of business's strategic plan, but it feels like we've been hit by one thing after another over the last sort of four or 5 years. And so I think it's something that businesses are talking about all the time. And I think we're proving that continuity is something that businesses are getting really good at, because they have actually managed to sail through. COVID was tough, but people reacted to it very quickly. But then we've had all these other changes, the war in Ukraine, that's a really big thing for a lot of businesses. And yet that agility mindset, that resilient mindset that they have developed, and their best practice and the tools that they're using to help them with that, have helped them to actually sort of not sail through those problems, but sort of ride them out probably in a much more or less impactful way than they would have done maybe 5 years ago. So I think all businesses are becoming more resilient as a result of that.
And I suppose that's one of the reasons why we've done this research, we've done this report, because for every CEO that feels that resilience is there, there's a learning point, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the climate of COVID did create that sort of environment where we have learned from each other, right? That we're, it's not all about keeping this to myself because this is about competitive advantage. This is for the good of all, right? We need a resilient business environment and economic environment for everybody. Otherwise, everybody loses out.
And this is the reason why we did the research and we've released this report, because actually, for every organisation that's found a solution or has experienced something, there'll be 5, 10, 15 others who have the same challenge.
Yeah, look, part of our job as a business that operates in the regulatory and compliance and in the resilient space is to promote best practice. We have over 12,500 customers globally. And that's a really important community. It's a customer community for us, but also it's a community where we want to encourage cross-fertilization of ideas. We want our customers to be talking to each other. There's so much good stuff to be shared in a community of that type when it's made up of people that think about, for example, resilience every day. So that's part of our job. Our job is to facilitate best practice, catalyse great ideas, and connect those community members of those 12,500 customers to benefit from each other's experiences.
And ultimately become more resilient, because the point you made is it benefits everybody.
It benefits everybody, and it's something that we all worry about.
So actually, that's an interesting point. You sit in the C-suite. You are one of the 500 sort of C-suite CEO people we spoke to.
Yeah.
Have you noticed more of a focus on resilience?
Oh, no question about it. I think it was a bigger focus coming out of COVID anyway. It was always going to be something that we would talk about consistently at a senior level. But of course, since then, we have had the economic challenges. We have had the war in Ukraine. I think we're proving out that resilience is something that deserves to be a board level topic and will continue to be so going forward.
What do you hope people reading this report will get from it?
Look, I personally, I'm always interested in examples of how other companies are doing things that we're not doing, that we can learn from, that we can replicate. And that's really what we hope for this report. So it will be full of real life examples, lots of interesting data. And I hope that anybody who's interested in resilience, our customers, our prospects, and the whole sort of business community will find something valuable when they read through this report and something that they can take away and hopefully use in their own business.
Thank you, James, for your time today, for sharing your insight with us. It's been really valuable and helpful and interesting to sort of hear your side of things. And of course, if you want more of the insights from speaking to our 500 CEOs, then please go to the Ideagen website and download Resilience Matters from Survive to Thrive.